Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's episode I'm going to be doing a review for the third episode of Celebrity Big Brother 2024. At the beginning of the episode we saw Gary and Fern having a quick chat about Levi and his 7 AM workouts, because obviously he was I think he was like meditating in the morning, and I think they were talking about, you know, getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning is not exactly their idea of a morning wake up or a morning routine even. Zizi said that David was snoring last night, even though he said he was going to be on the non-snoring side of the room. And then Fern and Gary had a quick chat obviously about Kate Middleton, and he basically said, I think he basically said here that obviously she married well and, you know, she's doing whatever, and I guess because she's got money now, she's a little bit, you know, in the public eye and things like that. And I think Fern basically said, yeah, but money doesn't necessarily make you posh. Just because you've got lots of money doesn't mean you're posh. And I think they kind of both just agreed that, you know, you could be rich but look like a tramp, or you could be not posh but be the most rich person in the world. So money doesn't really define you, and it doesn't really make you posh. It just helps, I guess, with making choices of doing things in life. And then you saw Marisha, Brad and Ekin-Su do a little morning workout in the garden. They were all doing like squats and stuff. Marisha was kind of doing like some sort of weird team chanting thing, which was actually quite funny to watch. But yeah, I think she'll be definitely one of the louder ones in there. Bradley at the moment seems to be one of the quieter ones. Louis explained to Lauren that he'd been a talent agent for over 20 years, and she actually explained a story of when she met Simon Cowell when she was 20 something years old. She had a Playboy boyfriend or husband at the time, and yeah, he ended up recognising her somewhere several years later, or I think he recognised her at that event or something. I'm not 100% sure what happened, but yeah, she basically already met him and he recognised her and was like, oh, fancy you being here or something like that. Zizi told Big Brother that she had a bit of a weird sleep, and it was quite weird because she could obviously look towards another bed and see another person looking at her, so that was a bit strange. She said Sharon was cute, and then obviously Coulson was with Gary, David and Brad all in the garden. Coulson got kind of flapped away by a wasp, and he explained that he basically had to take a day off of work because he got stung by a wasp on his foot. Ekin-Su and Louis had a little chat, and she basically asked him what the biggest achievement that he has had so far, or the biggest thing that he's achieved, and he obviously went on to explain X Factor. He didn't realise how big the show was going to be, and obviously said to Ekin, well, you know, it was obviously quite successful, and he said that they just came onto the stage, it was very spontaneous, and none of it was actually scripted at all. And then I think they quickly went on to discuss about One Direction and the kind of creation of One Direction, and then obviously, yeah, basically how he and Sharon obviously had their little disagreements and whatever, but obviously they worked really, really well together, and they generally do and did have a really good friendship. Louis also said that Hollywood seems to damage people, and he actually presented a couple of episodes, well, not presented the episodes, he was on a couple of episodes of X Factor US, and obviously that's when Marisha came to join the conversation. He said he was on a few episodes, and they asked how Britney was, and he basically just said she had headphones in, or little earpieces in, and she kind of looked as if she was just being kind of told what to say. But he did say she wasn't being told what to say, but I think if you've got headphones in and you kind of look a bit confused, it's like you're trying to piece together what someone's saying to you, and then that's what you'll say. So I guess someone as large as Britney is not gonna want to say something out of place or do something out of place, but I guess maybe she was still being controlled at this point, but we don't know. Gary had a quick chat with Fern. Again, they were talking about like the royal family again and royalty and things like that. I think that's kind of what all of their conversations seem to be about so far. And he basically said that he is a conservative. I'm not into politics, so I'm not going to obviously put my opinions onto it, but he basically said to Fern that he would take their titles away in terms of Harry and Meghan, just purely because of what they've done, and the fact that they're not really following royal protocol, I guess. They're kind of just doing their own thing, so if they want that private life, then take away all their royalties instead. Marisha had a little chat with Zizi. So Marisha basically said it's difficult being successful and a strong woman, and I think Zizi jumped in here and said, yeah, relationships seem to not go well when you're focusing on yourself and doing well in your career and life and stuff. So she said as her career and progression in life is like this, the relationship and the interest in people is obviously going down. And then again, Fern was having another quick chat with Gary, asking her about the whole This Morning situation with Philip Schofield and everything like that. And apparently it was rumoured he was going to be going into Big Brother, and Fern basically said, well, you know, I have to kind of not say anything because it could obviously be taken out of context. She hasn't been on the This Morning show for nearly 15 years, so she doesn't really know what's going on. But she said if Philip was to come in, that would probably be her cue to leave, I guess, to kind of avoid having to get into those sorts of conversations. But yeah, that would have been quite an interesting person to put in, that all those allegations, and then obviously now him being on TV. Levi and the rest of the housemates were obviously performing Big Brother, so it was the name of their song by the band Levi and the Roots, and they were performing for Louis. I think Sharon was part of this as well, or she was maybe sitting in her room or whatever it was, but they did a little performance, and he basically said, yeah, you guys are all through to next week, or with a little bit of practice you could go far in this competition. Obviously at this point, Sharon had already picked the 3 people who she was going to put in the Ring of Fire, and throughout this episode she was able to talk to each of them individually to kind of work out a little bit more about them, to kind of see, is there someone that she actually kind of does like that she shouldn't have put in the Ring of Fire, or maybe there's someone that she's like, yeah, I'm glad I put you potentially up for nomination. So she had a quick chat with Gary first, and she asked him why he accepted the offer to go into the Big Brother house. He said he wanted to show people he's not the black sheep of his family, and he doesn't care about being a celebrity, he just wants to kind of show a genuine side to people. And she basically replied and said, well, I'm not really sure why, but for some reason there's something telling me that I don't believe you. So it's almost like he does want to be a celebrity, he does want to be famous, he does want to be in the public eye, why can't you just admit it, kind of thing. So yeah, she didn't believe him. Marisha and Levi had another quick chat. He basically was told by her that her dad went to the first integrated school, so I guess the first mixed race school, the first school where, you know, white people and black people mixed together. And Levi also said that he was from some sort of community where obviously they are, you know, deemed to follow certain rules or certain experiences and certain things, and actually both of them were advised not to go on Big Brother because it would ruin the culture or the beliefs that their people have come from. But obviously that was just, I guess, what people see their communities and cultures as, and actually they wanted to kind of go against that, and they know what their core values are. And I think Marisha actually explained that, you know, she was told by people it potentially could ruin her career or things like that, and that she's an actress and stuff, but this will actually just add to more people getting to know who she is. And, you know, a different audience, the UK people might go, oh, who's this Marisha woman? See, she seems quite interesting, or we'll sign her up for this show, or we'll sign her up for this opportunity. So it's a bit of extra experience for them. Obviously the money would probably go to their chosen charity anyway, but it's a little bit more platform opportunity and exposure for the 3 of them as well. For the 13 of them even. Ekin asked Gary whether Kate was okay. Obviously they'd heard a lot of different things in the news, and she basically said, yeah, I've heard lots of different things, just want to make sure she's okay. Obviously share whatever you can share. And he basically just said, well, I'm not going to share where she is, and, you know, this is information that we're keeping within the family, but she is fine, she'll come back. At the moment she's just kind of, you know, she's got the best care and things like that, and you definitely will be seeing her again, is kind of what he said. And then the next part of the show was called A Day at the Races. So they were basically in 3 different teams. So, well, you had 4 different teams really. So you had the owner of the horse, the rider of the horse, and the horse itself. So obviously 4 of them were dressed up as a horse. And then you kind of had Sharon, who was the flag woman, to obviously dictate and kind of just watch and make sure there was obviously no cheating going on. So in terms of the 4 pairs, you had Levi and Lauren was the rider. You had Fern and Coulson was the rider. You had Gary and Marisha was the rider. And then you had Louis and Bradley was his rider. The first horse was Ekin Su, and she was called Equine Su. She was being ridden by Marisha, so Ekin Su, Marisha and Gary were obviously a team then. Second horse was David Potts. He was called David Trots. He was being ridden by Coulson, so David, Coulson and Fern were a team. Number 3 was ZZ, so she was called Zooming Z. She was being ridden by Bradley, so obviously ZZ, Bradley and Louis were a team. And then number 4 was Nikita. His name was Strictly Come Prancing. He was being ridden by Lauren, and obviously Lauren, him and Levi were obviously all on a team as well. It was a very easy race for 3 of the pairs. So Nikita, Lauren and Levi all came first. Ekin Su, Marisha and Gary came second, and then both the other two lots of groups didn't really do very well. David and Coulson weren't doing great. I guess it was a bit difficult for David to get over the little green hedges. And I think David at this point said, I hope no one's put a bet on us to obviously win, because they didn't actually do very well. In the end, obviously the three winners, so Nikita the horse, Lauren the rider, and Levi the coach, they all won, and they all got to choose a +1 to go to the after party. So Lauren chose Louis, Nikita chose David, Levi chose Ekin-Su, and obviously Sharon the steward was invited as well. So Nikita, Lauren and Levi all went to the diary room with Big Brother, had a little chat, and they basically just said, sometimes you have to finish fast and actually finish first in order to actually win things sometimes. And they were basically having a joke about how sometimes you need to be a bit quicker and sometimes you need to be a bit slower. So it was a more kind of naughty conversation, but yeah, I guess also in this race, you need to be a fast horse rather than a slow horse. So up next in Sharon's lair was David. So he went in to have a little chat with her. He basically was told by Sharon that she was a little bit shocked because he didn't have trousers on. And then when she realised that that's just his character and that's just the way he is, she was just a little bit like, okay, cool, we're going to just have to get used to this. David basically explained he is an outside person. He's not shocked that he was in the Ring of Fire. And he enjoys proving people wrong, because obviously people always will judge him on first impressions and then get to realise he's actually a nice person. And I think they both agreed that actually, yeah, sometimes first instincts and first impressions are usually sometimes wrong. And she said, yeah, that's just life. Things like that are just going to happen. Ekin-Su had a little chat with Coulson. Obviously Zizi was there as well, and she basically said that she was in Turkey doing soaps, so what the equivalent is of Coronation Street and EastEnders for us. She was doing the Turkish programmes. And Zizi basically asked her what her storyline was and how it obviously came to an end. And then Ekin-Su basically explained that COVID happened, so they had to basically kill her main character off. So that the other female lead actually killed Ekin-Su's character, and then that's how that ended. Bradley came to the diary room. He said he likes everyone so far. Fern is like mum. Marisha enjoys singing and dancing, so he likes doing that with her. Ekin-Su is really clean and organised, and Gary has a lot of dad jokes. Ekin-Su said to Marisha that usually men should be more into the women in a relationship than the women should be into the men. Marisha said, yeah, I completely agree. And she said that her husband or partner is completely British. She basically asked what happened with Ekin's previous relationship, and she said, well, he just hurt me. So I think more emotionally than physically. I don't think anything happened like that, or I'd presume and hope that nothing happened like that. But I guess maybe there was nights that involved alcohol or parties, or the fact that they both just come from one of the biggest shows on ITV. Maybe that just took a toll on itself, and it worked for a little bit, and then they kind of realised it wasn't really for them. They tried it again and then realised, actually no, we're just going to completely cut this off. So they did actually try to come back together again, but it just obviously didn't work. Louis then came to the Big Brother diary room. He said Ekin-Su was gorgeous. He thought Lauren was going to be a lot, so when she first came in he was like, oh goodness, and then actually she's really, really nice. And then obviously the third and final person for Sharon to interview in her lair was Zizi. Zizi came in and said, oh my goodness, it's very rock and roll in here. And she basically explained she was raised alone by her mum and her nan, almost like a second mum. And she stopped wanting to go into acting because she wanted to focus more on like colorism and the importance of showcasing people and diversity, like people of colour and diversity and things like that in the workplace. And obviously from her day-to-day job, she wants people to see a different side of her rather than just her kind of, outspoken self and, her controversial opinions and things like that. And Sharon basically added, yeah, you're not always looking for a fight. She's basically kind of trying to explain to Zizi, yeah, that's exactly me. Like, I am a nice person. I do have an emotional side. You just kind of need to get it out of me for me to actually be able to show that to you. At the party, David shouted macaroons, because obviously they had macaroons at the party. And then obviously Fern and the rest of the people that weren't invited had a little mini party in the garden. So I think it was just the other 4 or 5 or 6. And then Zizi, Gary, Brad and Fern were having a chat. And Zizi basically explained that, even though she is in the fire, she is still having a great experience. And Fern said that they all seemed to take it very, very well, and there wasn't any kind of drama or, anger or anything like that. It was kind of just acceptance of the fact that they were potentially not the best on first impressions. Coulson said he likes when something's happening, and the lights went down, and Zizi basically said, I think it's going to go to Sharon. And little and behold, the lights went down, the camera went straight onto Sharon, and then she was like, see, I told you. So she did that for about a few minutes. And obviously I don't think at this point Sharon knew that the cameras were on her. And she basically had to decide straight away who she was going to nominate for eviction. And she basically said, the person I'm going to nominate for eviction is Gary. Big Brother asked her why. and she basically just said he doesn't feel comfortable here, he's a bit awkward with himself, he is the oddball out of everybody else in here. And Gary basically just said that everyone has a little bit more risk. He seems to be going back to his normal life. And then a couple of them were basically saying, well, no, you're not evicted. At the moment, you have just been put up for eviction. So you're not actually out of the game yet, but, you know, there is still time for you to fight, basically. Levi said, obviously, it gets real now. And Nikita basically said to Sharon, like, did you know that we were watching you? Because obviously him, Sharon and Levi were all sitting there. And she goes, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I had no idea the cameras were on me filming that. And then Gary came over and said, look, I'm being cool about it, I'm alright, kind of thing. Marisha said to Levi that Sharon was obviously very insightful with what she said, the way she explained it. And then actually Fern came to the diary room, said Gary has a lot more to give, he's a lot more entertaining than obviously we've seen of him so far. And Sharon's reasons for voting him were very, very thought out reasons. He sometimes doesn't know when his line is crossed, but she kind of felt like he needed someone to be in his corner to kind of, you know, fight for him, and that's why she had those several chats with him before, to kind of, you know, let him know that there is someone that is kind of fighting his battle with him. Louis basically said to David and Bradley in the bathroom that for eviction he doesn't think Gary's going to go first. David said that everyone's actually alright. And Louis joked saying, yeah, even you, David. And David basically replied saying, I'm at the top of your list, Louis, like, don't even make out you don't like me. And I guess maybe David's given off like Rylan vibes, so maybe that's why he and Louis are getting on really, really well. And then Gary basically had a little man-to-man chat with Levi, saying this is why he's being gentle with everyone else. He's kind of already in the firing line. He doesn't want to get on anybody else's nerves. He obviously hasn't given off good impressions to Sharon and Louis, or mainly at least Sharon, so he just wants to try and get into everyone else's good books. So at least if other people are nominated, he can kind of have people go, oh, actually, you know, Gary was really nice to me, or actually I'd rather this person go out than this person. So it's going to get really interesting with these evictions, because at the moment, like they all keep saying, there is no bad blood, there is no drama so far. So let's see if that goes any further, or if that obviously stops. And then the final part of the show, David came into the diary room and said, I'm free, because obviously he's not been up for eviction. Well, as of now, he's survived this little part of the show, but he could still be put up for eviction if people don't like him. Gary, he basically said that Gary had expected it, and obviously he agreed with the situation. And then obviously during the night, right at the end of the show, we saw Gary roll out of the bed. I think Zizi was off to the toilet. Gary rolled onto the floor. Colson kind of looked over like, oh my god, are you alright? Because I think him and Gary were sharing a bed. He basically said, yeah, I'm fine. He had a kind of like a poker face on his face, went back to bed and didn't look very happy. So that was the end of the third episode. So that was Gary, who the first person was for to be put up for eviction. So yeah, it's not looking good for Gary so far, but I don't think he's going to be the only one up for eviction. And yeah, I don't even know at this point who potentially people don't like. I think David's coming off really, really well. I think some people are going to find Zizi a little bit too much. Some people are going to find Colton a little bit not much, so he's just kind of there. But I think the rest of them seem to be liked so far. Potentially Marisha and Louis might have some sort of disagreement just because she's very loud, he's very dominant in house. So maybe the two of them will have some sort of clash. Brad's quite quiet, but I don't think that's going to go against him. I think because people like the show that he was on, and obviously the fact that he is so chill and relaxed. But again, you never know with this sort of thing. And there might even be some new housemates going in at some point. I literally don't know. There could be any sort of, you know, tricks and treats and whatever. So yeah, that was it for my third review. So if you did enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, chat and subscribe. And until my next review, thank you for watching and goodbye.